I'm Kritika Saxena. I have with me today a special guest, Francisco D'Souza, in his visit to India in Noida, joining in now to speak about Cognizant, the road ahead, and what lies ahead for the Indian IT industry. Frank, always a pleasure to have you with us, and congratulations for a good set of numbers. It's been a good few quarters for Cognizant. My first question to you is what lies ahead? You have guided for a growth of 9 to 10% for the calendar year 2017. Take us through the kind of visibility that you see in terms of the demand pickup in the environment, and what are the chances of being able to beat that guidance?
Kritika, to be with you. As you said, we had a good quarter, good start to the year. The first half of the year was very strong for us. At the end of the second quarter, we took the lower end of our guidance range up. We're now forecasting revenue in the range of 9 to 10%. We feel good about the outlook for the rest of the year. And our growth has been quite broad-based across the industries that we serve. And it's been driven because our clients across the industries that we serve are now starting to deploy digital technology at scale. And as digital becomes mainstream and our clients look to reinvent their business model, their operating model, and their technology models, and do that all simultaneously, they're increasingly turning to Cognizant to help them with that journey. And as clients move to digital at scale, we are benefiting because of the investments that we've made.
Okay. So if I were to look at the kind of growth that the sector and the industry has seen over the last 1 year, can I safely say, purely based on your guidance, that the calendar year 2017 is looking like a better year than calendar year 2017 based on the visibility?
Well, Kritika, our guidance range is 9 to 10%. We delivered a little bit less than 9% last year. And so just, mathematically, regardless of where we fall within our current guidance range, we expect that we'll do a little bit better this year than we did last year.
So, in terms of the order book, in terms of the visibility, Frank, what are the key growth areas that you're looking at right now? You completely revamped your entire segment, so you're focusing on digital now. There are 3 areas that you are focusing on, which includes operation, technology, and digital business. But in terms of the sectors that are actually adopting to these digital technologies, which stand out and which will be the focus areas for you in the next 2 years?
Yeah, Kritika, first I would point out healthcare. We see tremendous momentum in healthcare, and that's based on investments that we've been making in healthcare for many, many years, and more recently with the TriZetto acquisition in 2015, we've got a very strong position in healthcare market, and we continue to drive digital within healthcare and do that with our clients at scale. Healthcare is a very strong area for us at the moment. Beyond that, products and resources grew 13% year over year in the second quarter, and communications, media, and technology grew even more than that, close to 17% year over year in the second quarter. So we are seeing strong growth across all areas.
Okay, so you spoke about acquisitions, Frank. What is the outlook there? You've been making niche acquisitions, specific acquisitions that add to the business. How much scale can you get from acquisitions in the near term?
It's always been the case, Kritika, that our primary approach to acquisitions has been to focus on small tuck-in acquisitions, not necessarily for scale, say, but to add capabilities or to expand into new geographies, or to add a platform capability to Cognizant, deepen our industry expertise. And so that will continue to be our primary focus, is to look at acquisitions in those areas, but with a particular emphasis on digital. And it has, we've said now for some months that we intend to scale up the pace at which we do acquisitions, and I think you'll see us do that in the coming quarters. So that's our primary approach. Having said that, we did the TriZetto acquisition, which was a large acquisition in late 2015. We've been very pleased with the results of that acquisition, and so if similar opportunities present themselves in the future, we wouldn't be opposed to looking at them.
Okay, so if we were to factor in acquisitions, Frank, would you expect to beat that 9 to 10%, revise it upwards over the next few quarters?
9 to 10% is currently our best outlook for this year. That's the guidance we provided just a few weeks ago when we released earnings, and that continues to be our outlook for the year. As the year progresses, if that outlook changes, obviously we'll update our guidance accordingly.
Let's talk about the realignment strategy, Frank, digital has been something that you've been talking about for the last few quarters. And as I was saying earlier, there are three businesses you've outlined, which you've refocused your business into, and that includes the digital operations, digital business, and digital technology. In terms of investment and in terms of the kind of focus on digital, can you give us some clarity as to what the plan is till that 2019-2020 target in terms of refocusing, shifting your entire business? By the end of 2020, how much revenues will actually be coming from digital?
So, Kritika, it's, the reason we realigned the business into these three areas that cut across our industry segments, our business segments, is because of this trend that I mentioned earlier of our clients moving to digital at scale. Our clients are saying that we need to change our business model, we need to change our operating model, and we need to change our technology model. We need to do all three of those things simultaneously. And so Cognizant Digital Business, Cognizant Digital Operations, and Cognizant Digital Systems and Technology are each focused on one of those areas: business model transformation, operating model transformation, and technology model transformation. So the realignment was done very much with the needs of our clients in mind. We are investing across all three of these areas because we view the strength of Cognizant as being the ability to integrate these three practice areas together and create that end-to-end solution for a client. And so we're investing very, very strongly in each of these three areas. In digital business, to focus on how helping our customers evolve their customer experience and their customer journey. In digital operations, using systems of intelligence to make operating processes more efficient and more effective. And in digital systems and technology, focusing on how we can help our clients make their technology simpler, more modern, and more secure. Those are the major focus areas for us in our investments.
Okay. Frank, based on the commentary that you've given in the last few conference calls, would I be correct in assuming that a bulk of the cost that will go into realignment will be completed within 2017? And if that's the case, then what would be the immediate impact on margins in the short term?
We continue to realign the business, and my expectation is that we will, as long as we continue to reshape the business, we'll continue to take some of the realignment costs. The impact on our non-GAAP operating margin is I think already visible. Our non-GAAP operating margin improved from the first to the second quarter, and as we've said, Kritika, our goal will be to improve our non-GAAP operating margin, increase it, and our target is to get to 22% by 2019.
So that was actually my next question, Frank. 22% by 2019. Will a bulk of this be through the entire realignment process, or are there other modes in place we will be able to use to be able to bring down that impact on margins and thereby expand?
We laid this out in some detail, Kritika. There are really three broad areas that will drive our margin improvement. The first is a focus that we have on driving high-quality, sustainable revenue growth. So we're focusing on lines of service that will drive longer-term, higher-value, sustainable growth for Cognizant. So that's one piece of the equation. The second part of the equation is driving simplification in the organization. So looking internally and saying, how do we simplify? How do we make the company less complicated?
Yeah.
And then the third are the realignment actions that you talked about.
Okay. So if I'm correct, Frank, in 2016, the total digital revenue was about 23%. After the realignment is completed, by how much can that be scaled up?
You're right, Kritika. In Q2, digital revenue was a little bit more than 25%, so it had gone up. It grew in the neighborhood of 30% year over year in the second quarter. So it's a big part of our business now. Over 25%. It's clearly growing faster than the rest of the company. And so I expect that digital as a percent of our total company revenue will continue to increase, and it will continue to grow. But I'm not going to make projections of where it winds up at the end of the
year. Conversation with Francisco D'Souza of Cognizant. Frank, the other point I wanted clarity on was the VRS program, the voluntary retirement scheme that many employees have adopted to, about 400 if I'm correct. What is the cost saving as a result of that?
Yeah. So, Kritika, we ran the VRS in the second quarter of this year, and we did it, it's, as you know, purely voluntary. We did it in response to a group of associates who, many of whom had been with Cognizant for quite some time and were saying to us that they would like to make a change in their career, do something different with their lives and so on and so forth, and we wanted to give them the option of doing that. So the VRS was a voluntary program that we put in place in the second quarter. As you said, about 400 associates around the globe opted into that program. And as we said in our second quarter results, that results on an annual basis about $60 million of savings to the company.
Okay, fair enough. The other point that you were talking about in the conference call, which I wanted to understand more in detail, is reskilling and repurposing your workforce. So you have, over the last few years, focused on increasing the US workforce, increasing local talent across geographies. How will the numbers change? So currently 75% of your employees, for instance, come from India. Will that pie now shift towards being equal between the two geographies, US and India, which are where you refocus your work at least?
Yeah. Kritika, I want to be clear on this. India is our largest country location.
Adopted to about 400, if I'm correct. What is the cost saving as a result of that?
Yeah. So, Kritika, we ran the VRS in the second quarter of this year, and we did it, it's, as you know, purely voluntary. We did it in response to a group of associates who, many of whom had been with Cognizant for quite some time and were saying to us that they would like to make a change in their career, do something different with their lives and so on and so forth, and we wanted to give them the option of doing that. So the VRS was a voluntary program that we put in place in the second quarter. As you said, about 400 associates around the globe opted into that program. And as we said in our second quarter results, that results on an annual basis about $60 million of savings to the company.
Okay, fair enough. The other point that you were talking about in the conference call, which I wanted to understand more in detail, is reskilling and repurposing your workforce. So you have, over the last few years, focused on increasing the US workforce, increasing local talent across geographies. How will the numbers change? So currently 75% of your employees, for instance, come from India. Will that pie now shift towards being equal between the two geographies, US and India, which are where you refocus your work at least?
Yeah. Kritika, I want to be clear on this. India is our largest country location. It continues to be the largest hiring location in the world, and I expect that will continue to be the case going forward. I don't think that the distribution of our workforce will change meaningfully over the coming years. Okay. We continue to hire digital talent around the world, not just in the US. Digital skills, particularly the skills that are needed close to the client, things like design skills and data science. Those skills we will continue to build close to the clients in the US, in Europe, and in other parts of the world where we operate. And so we will ramp up US hiring, European hiring, Asian hiring for those skills. Okay. But I don't think that hiring will change the global distribution of our workforce meaningfully over the coming years. The
headcount has declined now by 4,000 employees, and this includes voluntary as well as involuntary. There was a lot of talk, Frank, over the last few months about involuntary attrition. Can you give some clarity as to what the number was over the last few months? How has that impacted the company as a whole?
Yeah, look, I think it's really important to say a couple of things. First of all, in the second quarter, although overall headcount declined, we hired 10,800 people in that quarter. So we continue to hire actively. We continue to need talent on behalf of for the work that we're doing on behalf of our clients. The voluntary separation program, as we said a minute ago, was 400 people. So compared to the hiring, we did a relatively small number of people took the voluntary separation program. So we continue to hire. It is true that as is the case every year, we go through an annual performance cycle, and through that process, certain people will leave the company. But that's a normal process. We've been doing that every year since we founded the company, and that's a process that will continue going forward, and that was what impacted the headcount in the quarter.
Okay. Frank, I'm very happy that you clarified that, because, the news reports that had come out in terms of the kind of impact that you'd seen as a result of the annual performance separation were drastic. And at that point, you had clarified that. So I don't want to go too much into those details, but if you could give us a sense, what percentage of employees was that drastic? Was that just about 1 to 1.5%? And that's the industry norm right now.
Yeah. I want to be clear, we did no layoffs in the company.
Okay.
We ran through a performance cycle like we always do. During the performance cycle, a small number, a very small percentage, low single digits of our employees make a decision that their careers are better served outside of Cognizant, and that's what happened in the second quarter. But that's no different, Kritika, than what happens at Cognizant every year.
Okay, so I'm very glad you clarified that, Frank. So there were no layoffs in this 1 year in Cognizant. This was largely attrition that is something that's ongoing on an annual basis, correct?
Absolutely. I can state that unequivocally. We did no layoffs.
Okay, that's that's a very important clarification, Frank. Thank you so much for that point. As far as the focus now on reskilling employees is concerned, Frank, there's been a lot of noise about how some jobs will now be redundant completely. And this is across the industry. This isn't an Indian IT company-specific problem. But what are the skill sets, Frank, that will be relevant now? And which are the skill sets that perhaps may not get as much of demand for the net additions that all Indian IT employees will do, including Cognizant?
Kritika, I think this is the key point here. It's a very important question. Here's the key point. The world is becoming more technology intensive. Businesses, societies, governments around the world are deploying technology more broadly and more deeply than they've ever deployed it before. And so I believe that as long as the demand for technology continues to increase, the demand for skilled technology professionals, firms like Cognizant who can put that together, put technology together and make it effective for clients is going to continue to increase. It is certainly the case that parts of what we've done in the past in a more manual way will become more automated and therefore will require less talent. However, that has always been the case. Our industry has always automated. We've always sought new ways to do things. We've always driven productivity. It's no different. We continue to automate. We always have, and we continue to do that. That's why clients work with us, because we are making the investments in productivity. We're making the investments in automation. We're helping our clients become more productive as a result of that. However, I think that as much as we automate, we're going to continue to see increased need for talent. Because the demand for technology right now is so strong as businesses, businesses, societies, and governments become more technology intensive. I would say that from a skills standpoint, the skills landscape is changing so quickly that I'm encouraging Cognizant employees, and I'm saying that we all of us have to become lifelong learners. Things will change. The skills that are relevant today will become less relevant tomorrow and the year after that. And as long as we all adopt the approach of becoming lifelong learners, technology, I think, will continue to pervade all aspects of of society and business, and I think there'll continue to be ample opportunities. Ever
since the Trump administration has come, Frank, you've been at the epicenter of the talk of how the industry has shifted. The sense for most industry IT players, industry watchers, is that clients seem to have hit the pause button for some time. They're still watchful of how the administration will make changes in terms of policies, in terms of investment cycles. How much of an impact has that been for you? And what is the outlook there? Do you expect, for instance, like education for IT players, with clients' concerns across lack of clarity?
Kritika, I would say that our clients have been operating against a backdrop of increased volatility for quite some time now. If you go back as far back as the financial crisis, I would say that there's been a period of several years that have been characterized by various different kinds of volatility. And I think most of our clients have come to the understanding that a volatile environment is the new normal. And so we see clients continuing to press forward particularly with technology investments. Clients are understanding they need to deploy digital technology. It's not an option anymore. It's become the basis of competition in many, many industries. And so they are pushing forward with their investments in technology, and I think that's what is driving our growth, and why 2017 will be a little bit better year than we had in the prior year.
Okay, but portions of the volatility are still likely to continue, and if yes, Frank, then how long? 2 years?
Oh, Kritika, I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to tell you that.
Okay, no problem.
I think my assumption as CEO, and I think the assumption of many of the CEOs of our clients, is that volatility is the new normal, and you plan for that, and you build your business plans assuming that the environment will continue to be volatile.
Okay. Frank, since you've been so honest, the last question as far as the library investigation is concerned, you've already said that $27 million has been factored in. How much more is likely going ahead, and what's the impact been like? How difficult has this period been for you? You've been very clear in terms of your disclosures, in terms of the transparency that the company has to maintain. How has this period been, and how have you been able to tide through it?
Kritika, the investigation is ongoing. In the second quarter, we disclosed that the cost to the company related to the investigation was approximately $8 million. So we continue to work with to cooperate with the U.S. government, the Department of Justice, and the SEC, and continue to take the investigation forward. Our commitment, as it has always been, is to comply with rules, laws, regulations around the world in the countries in which we operate. We take that obligation very, very seriously. We've taken the investigation extremely seriously from the board level all the way down at Cognizant, and I think that we're doing all of the right things consistent with the values of our company as we move forward.
Okay, so the road ahead, Frank, if you had to describe it in one word, are you a bull, or are you cautiously optimistic about the road ahead for Cognizant?
Kritika, I'm always a bull. I think that the best days lie ahead for Cognizant. We have a tremendous market position. We've got an environment where the world is becoming more technology intensive. Our services have never been more relevant, and I feel really good about the future.
Thank you so much, Frank. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, and perhaps the next time you're in India, we can do a face-to-face interview for sure. Thanks a lot once again for joining in on this special show. Francisco D'Souza, the CEO of Cognizant, taking us through a whole lot of issues, a whole lot of clarity, a lot of confusion about the Indian IT sector, the Trump administration, and the impact. But Cognizant is confident that the road ahead will be very positive. Thank you for watching the special show.